What if I told you that not taking care of your most private needs after 60 could silently rob you of your vitality, shrink your muscles, steal your sleep, and even increase your risk of a fatal fall? It sounds unbelievable, but the truth is many seniors are unknowingly accelerating their own decline simply by neglecting this deeply natural, life-affirming act. I'm Dr. James, a men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping seniors maintain strength, intimacy, and dignity well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. I've spent decades in clinics, research labs, and lecture halls, and I can tell you without a doubt, ignoring your sexual health as you age isn't harmless. It's dangerous, and it's far more serious than most people realize. You see, society often tells older adults that those needs should fade with age, that it's normal to lose desire, to stop caring, to let that part of yourself go. But in reality, when you stop engaging in healthy, natural self-pleasure, your body begins to pay a silent, painful price. And the consequences don't just touch your bedroom. They ripple through your heart, your bones, your brain, your energy, and even your survival itself. In today's guide, I'm going to reveal 7 dangerous things that can happen if you stop masturbating after 60, backed by science, clinical experience, and stories from real seniors who learned this lesson the hard way. More importantly, I'll show you how a simple, private habit can actually protect your independence, boost your energy, safeguard your mental clarity, and even extend your lifespan. Some of these effects are shocking. One in particular, often mistaken for just aging, has been linked directly to increased hospitalizations and early mortality among seniors. Stay with me, because knowing this could mean the difference between living your later years in strength and freedom or watching it all slip away, one painful step at a time. Before we continue, if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another important health insight designed to protect your strength, vitality, and independence. If you find this message meaningful, type 1 in the comments. If you feel there's something I can improve, type 0. Your feedback helps me serve you better. 1. Accelerated muscle loss, sarcopenia. I still remember sitting across from a patient named Robert. He was 68, sharp-minded, full of stories, but when it came time to stand up from his chair, it took him 3 tries. His legs trembled. His hands gripped the sides of the seat for support, and the sadness in his eyes said what his mouth didn't. He didn't understand how he had gotten so weak so fast. What Robert didn't realize, and what too many seniors don't realize, is that neglecting intimate self-care after 60 can quietly accelerate muscle loss, a devastating condition called sarcopenia. Your muscles are not just there for vanity. They are your protection, your independence, your life force. And yet the moment you stop engaging in activities that stimulate your hormones, testosterone, growth hormone, oxytocin, your body begins to abandon your muscle mass. Day by day, week by week, your muscles shrink without obvious warning. You don't wake up one morning unable to walk. No, it's much more cruel than that. It's a slow robbery. One morning you notice that the stairs seem steeper. A few weeks later, carrying groceries feels heavier. Then one day, a simple fall becomes a hospital stay, or worse, the beginning of the end. Scientific studies show that after 60, adults lose about 3% to 5% of their muscle mass per decade, even with normal activity. But if you neglect healthy sexual stimulation, that loss accelerates. Your body's message is clear: use it or lose it. And when you lose it, you don't just lose strength, you lose mobility, you lose balance, you lose freedom. Without sufficient hormonal stimulation, the muscles around your hips, thighs, and core, the very muscles that keep you standing and walking, start to waste away. Even the small, seemingly unimportant muscles in your hands and feet begin to weaken. Your grip loosens, your steps shorten, your balance becomes precarious, and all the while you may blame it on getting older, not realizing that part of it was preventable. Imagine losing 30% of your muscle mass by the time you are 70. Then imagine trying to catch yourself during a fall with a body that no longer has the strength to react. This isn't just about difficulty standing up or climbing stairs. It's about survival. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related death in people over 65. Most fatal falls don't happen because of slippery floors or clumsy accidents. They happen because the body simply can't save itself anymore. And once muscle loss reaches a critical point, it becomes almost impossible to reverse. Physical therapy can help. Exercise can help. But the simplest and most natural protection, preserving your hormonal health through intimate self-care, was overlooked when it was easiest to maintain. This isn't about shame, it's about dignity. It's about holding on to the strength that defines who you are. It's about being able to rise out of your chair without help, to walk into your kitchen and cook your favorite meal, to go outside and feel the earth steady beneath your feet, not feel it rushing up to meet you in a fall you cannot stop. Robert's story didn't have to end with a cane and a walker, but by the time he understood what was happening, the damage had already taken hold. Don't let that happen to you. Because if you think accelerated muscle loss is terrifying, wait until you hear how neglecting your intimate health can quietly rob your mind and memories, a silent thief far more dangerous than you might ever suspect. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Increased risk of falls and fractures. There is a sound I will never forget. The sharp, heart-wrenching crack of a fall. It happened right outside my clinic one afternoon. An older gentleman named Harold, who had just finished his appointment, stumbled on a small step. It wasn't a dramatic fall. It wasn't a dangerous cliff or a slippery floor. It was just one missed step. But the sound of his hip breaking haunts me to this day. It was the sound of a life changing in an instant. Many seniors think that falls only happen to people who are careless, who don't watch where they are going. The truth is far more frightening. Falls happen because the body, once a strong and loyal companion, no longer has the muscle strength, balance, or reflexes to protect itself. And when you stop nurturing your body's natural health through regular, intimate self-care, you allow that protective system to slowly rot away from the inside out. Without consistent hormonal stimulation, your muscles weaken, but what's even worse, your neuromuscular control begins to fail. You lose the ability to react quickly. Your reflexes, which used to snap into action in a split second, now move sluggishly. Your brain sends the right message, but your body can no longer respond fast enough. That split-second delay is all it takes for gravity to win. Statistics are brutal. 1 in 4 Americans aged 65 and older falls every year. Worse, falls are the leading cause of injury death in older adults. Break a hip after 65 and your chance of dying within the next year rises by as much as 30%. 30%. Think about that. A single, seemingly harmless fall could trigger a chain of events that leads to permanent disability, a nursing home, or worse. And it starts so quietly. Maybe you catch yourself stumbling once or twice and brush it off. Maybe you feel just a little more unsteady when reaching for something overhead. Maybe you tell yourself it's just part of getting older. But it isn't just aging, it is the direct, devastating result of a body that has lost its protective power. Harold's story didn't end with that one fall. He spent 3 weeks in the hospital, then 6 months in a rehabilitation center. He never fully recovered. His independence, his dignity, his spirit, they all suffered because of that one missed step. It didn't have to happen. If only he had recognized the subtle signs earlier. If only he had taken action to preserve the strength and responsiveness his body desperately needed. You see, falls aren't accidents. They are symptoms, loud, violent symptoms, of silent decay that has been happening inside the body for years. And while you cannot prevent every slip, you can dramatically reduce your risk by keeping your muscles strong, your nerves sharp, and your reflexes alive through habits that honor and stimulate your body's deepest needs. Ask yourself, how many chances does life give you to dodge a disaster you never see coming? How many warnings do you get before the ground rushes up to meet you and everything changes? Because if you think a broken bone is frightening, wait until you realize that the next consequence of neglecting your intimate health isn't just about the body, it is about the slow, terrifying theft of your very mind itself. 3. Cognitive decline and memory loss. I remember a patient named Margaret. She had always been sharp as a tack, the kind of woman who could remember every detail of a conversation from 10 years ago. But at 72, she started forgetting little things, a name here, a date there. Then it got worse. One day she couldn't find her way home from the grocery store, a place she had visited for decades. Her family thought it was normal aging. They were wrong. What Margaret was experiencing was cognitive decline, a silent, creeping thief that robs seniors of their memories, their independence, and eventually their very identity. Most people do not realize how much the body and mind are connected. They imagine that memory loss is just an inevitable part of getting older. But that is a dangerous myth. The truth is, neglecting intimate self-care and ignoring the body's natural needs can quietly accelerate the brain's decline. Healthy sexual stimulation doesn't just affect the body, it floods the brain with vital chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, substances critical for maintaining sharp thinking, emotional stability, and mental resilience. When this stimulation stops, it's like shutting off the fuel to a delicate machine. Blood flow to critical areas of the brain decreases. Hormonal balance falters. Neural pathways that once fired rapidly start to weaken. Without these constant signals to keep them alive, memory, focus, and even emotional regulation begin to deteriorate. What starts as forgetting a word or misplacing keys can quickly snowball into confusion, disorientation, and devastating cognitive loss. Scientific studies confirm that seniors who maintain some form of sexual expression, whether shared or private, have better verbal skills, stronger executive functioning, and slower progression of diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's. This isn't theory, it's reality. When you ignore or suppress your body's most fundamental drives, you are not just ignoring physical needs, you are starving your brain of the nourishment it desperately needs to stay alive and alert. I've seen it too many times. A vibrant, intelligent person gradually fades into a shadow of who they once were, trapped in a mind that can no longer navigate the simplest tasks. And the tragedy is that much of this could have been prevented, or at least delayed, by simple natural habits that honor the connection between body and brain. Margaret's decline was heartbreaking, not because it happened overnight, but because it happened silently. She forgot names, then faces, then her own reflection. Watching her struggle to recognize her grandchildren was one of the hardest moments of my career, and it never had to get that far. The brain, like any other organ, follows the rule of use it or lose it. Neglect the body's basic needs, and the mind suffers the cost. When you allow intimacy, even private intimacy, to fade away, you risk much more than loneliness. You risk losing the very essence of yourself, the memories, the stories, the love, the laughter that make you who you are. You cannot afford to take your mind for granted. Once the connections start unraveling, there's no simple way to tie them back together. Prevention, not repair, is your greatest ally. Because if you think losing your memories is terrifying, wait until you discover how neglecting your intimate health can rob you of something even more vital, your ability to heal, to rest, and to find true peace at night. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Poor sleep quality and insomnia. I once had a conversation with a man named Edward, a strong, determined 70-year-old who had spent his life working outdoors, building homes for others. But when he sat in my office, his eyes were hollow with exhaustion. Night after night, he told me he lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, praying for sleep that never came. His body ached, his mind raced, and each sleepless night was stealing another piece of his health, his joy, and his hope for the future. Many people underestimate the devastating effects of poor sleep. They think it's just a minor inconvenience, something to brush off with an extra cup of coffee the next morning. But for seniors, disrupted sleep is not just tiring, it is deadly. Sleep is when the body repairs itself, when the brain clears away toxic waste, when the heart slows and heals. Without it, every system in your body begins to crumble. When you neglect healthy sexual stimulation, you lose one of nature's most powerful tools for sleep regulation. Orgasm triggers the release of hormones like prolactin, oxytocin, and serotonin. Natural sleep aids that relax the body, calm the mind, and prepare you for deep, restorative rest. Without this regular release, the body remains tense, the mind restless. You become trapped in a vicious cycle. The more exhausted you feel, the harder it becomes to fall asleep. And poor sleep is not a harmless annoyance. It increases your risk of heart attacks, strokes, diabetes, depression, weakened immunity, and even certain cancers. It shrinks your brain's memory centers, accelerates cognitive decline, and weakens your muscles and bones. Every missed hour of sleep is another crack in the foundation of your health. I watched Edward struggle through his days. His balance worsened, his memory slipped, his once steady hands began to tremble. Friends noticed he had become irritable, distant, almost a ghost of the vibrant man he used to be. His blood pressure soared, his blood sugar spiked. His doctor added more medications to his list, but none of them addressed the true root of the problem, the silent collapse of his natural sleep rhythms. There is something profoundly cruel about lying awake night after night feeling your body fall apart while you are powerless to stop it. Insomnia is not just about fatigue. It strips away your dignity, your energy, your ability to live fully. It leaves you vulnerable to falls, infections, accidents, and the slow, crushing weight of depression. And the tragedy is that one of the simplest, most natural ways to protect your sleep, nurturing your body's need for release and connection, has been buried under shame, misinformation, and the false belief that such needs disappear with age. They do not. Your body's need for intimacy, touch, and relaxation remains no matter how many candles you have on your birthday cake. If you are tossing and turning at night, if you wake up feeling more tired than when you went to bed, if you find yourself dreading the dark hours instead of welcoming them, know this: it is not just part of aging. It is a warning sign, and ignoring it can lead to a rapid and irreversible decline in your health and independence. Sleep is not optional, it is survival. And nurturing your natural intimate rhythms is one of the most powerful gifts you can give your body to reclaim the peace and restoration it desperately craves. Because if you think losing sleep is dangerous, wait until you realize how emotional starvation can hollow you out from the inside, leaving behind a shell of the vibrant spirit you once were. 5. Increased risk of depression and loneliness. I will never forget the day Mrs. Anderson sat across from me, tears welling up in her tired eyes. She was 74, widowed for nearly a decade, and had spent most of her days alone in a small house filled with photographs of people who no longer visited. "I just feel invisible," she whispered, clutching her hands together as if trying to hold herself from falling apart. What she was experiencing wasn't just sadness. It was a profound, consuming loneliness, the kind that eats away at the soul in silence. And behind it was a neglected truth few dare to talk about: the devastating impact of emotional and physical starvation as we age. Loneliness is not just an uncomfortable feeling. It is a biological warning signal as urgent and dangerous as pain or hunger. When you deny yourself connection, even in its most private forms, your brain and body interpret it as a life-threatening emergency. Cortisol levels spike, inflammation surges, immune function collapses. The risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, and even premature death skyrockets. Studies show that chronic loneliness increases your risk of early death by as much as 45%, a statistic more deadly than obesity or heavy smoking. Regular, healthy sexual expression, including private self-pleasures, is one of the most powerful antidotes to loneliness. It stimulates the release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, which creates feelings of closeness, love, and emotional warmth. It reminds your body and mind that you are still connected, still alive, still worthy of love and touch. Without this, the heart grows cold. The world seems more distant. Days bleed into each other without joy, without meaning, without hope. I have seen too many seniors slip into the shadows because they believed their need for intimacy had an expiration date. They withdrew, not just from others, but from themselves. They convinced themselves that longing for touch, for affection, for physical comfort was something shameful, something to be buried and forgotten. But the human heart never stops needing connection, and when that need is ignored, it festers into bitterness, despair, and crushing loneliness. Mrs. Anderson was not sick when she first started staying in bed all day. She was not disabled when she stopped attending her church meetings. She was lonely, and over time that loneliness hardened into depression, stealing her energy, her will to move, her ability to fight back against the slow decay. She became a prisoner inside her own home, trapped by walls she had built herself without even realizing it. This is the brutal truth that no one talks about. Neglecting your intimate needs doesn't just make you lonely, it makes you vulnerable. Vulnerable to depression, to hopelessness, to the slow, quiet death of the spirit. It is not weakness to want connection. It is not shameful to crave touch. It is the most natural, vital part of being human, and preserving that part of yourself is essential to staying mentally and emotionally alive. If you find yourself withdrawing, if you feel the walls of loneliness closing in, know that there is a way out. Nurturing your body's need for connection, even in private, even in small, simple ways, can rebuild the bridges to yourself, to joy, to life. Because if you think loneliness is devastating, just wait until you discover how neglecting your intimate needs can quietly destroy your heart. Not metaphorically, but physically, leading you straight into the hidden dangers of cardiovascular disease. 6. Higher risk of cardiovascular problems. I will always remember Mr. Lewis. He was 71 when he first came to see me, a proud veteran who had survived more hardships than most people could imagine. But sitting across from me, he confessed something that rattled him to his core. Despite all his strength, despite all his discipline, he felt weaker every day. Shortness of breath, chest tightness, fatigue so deep it felt like quicksand. It wasn't until tests confirmed advanced cardiovascular disease that the full weight of his condition settled in. What shocked him most was learning that one of the silent contributors to his heart problems was something he had ignored for years: his own intimate health. Most people would never think to connect sexual health with heart health, but the truth is as alarming as it is undeniable. Healthy sexual stimulation is not just about pleasure. It is about maintaining circulation, regulating blood pressure, keeping arteries flexible, and preventing the dangerous buildup of plaque. Every time the body experiences natural, healthy release, it triggers a symphony of biological responses that protect the heart and vascular system. When that natural cycle is neglected, especially after 60, the consequences begin stacking up quietly, dangerously, and irreversibly. Blood vessels stiffen, blood pressure rises, inflammatory markers surge. The heart, once resilient, becomes burdened with silent stress it cannot fight off. Without the hormonal boosts that come from regular, healthy intimacy, including self-pleasure, the cardiovascular system begins to deteriorate faster than most people realize. Mr. Lewis had always thought that slowing down was just part of aging. He didn't realize that by ignoring a fundamental need for touch, for connection, even privately, he was starving his heart of one of its most important defenses. By the time he started experiencing symptoms, the damage was already deep, hidden behind years of denial and cultural silence about the needs of the aging body. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death among seniors. It claims more lives than all cancers combined. And the terrifying part is that it often advances without a single clear warning sign until it is too late. A heart attack, a stroke, a sudden collapse that no one sees coming. One moment you are fine, and the next your body betrays you in the cruelest way possible. It is not weakness to acknowledge the body's enduring need for intimacy and stimulation. It is survival. Healthy sexual expression helps keep blood flowing, reduces stress hormones, improves sleep, and maintains hormonal balance, all of which directly fortify the heart against disease. Neglecting this vital part of your health is like allowing small cracks to spread across a dam without repairing them, until one day everything bursts apart under the pressure. Mr. Lewis fought hard after his diagnosis. He changed his diet, exercised religiously, and slowly worked to repair the damage. But he often said to me, "Doc, I wish someone had told me sooner. I would have never let myself fade away like that." His story is a powerful reminder that the choices you make today, even in the quietest, most personal corners of your life, echo loudly into your future. Your heart is not invincible. It needs protection, attention, and yes, even intimacy. Ignoring this truth does not erase it. It only ensures that one day you will pay a price far greater than embarrassment. You may pay with your life. Because if you think heart disease is the ultimate consequence, wait until you realize how neglecting your intimate needs can strip away something even more precious. Your very sense of identity, your confidence, and the feeling of truly being alive. 7. Loss of sexual confidence and identity. I will never forget the story of Mr. Howard. A proud, vibrant man in his early 70s, he had lived a full life, built a family, served his community, and carried himself with the quiet dignity that only comes from decades of perseverance. But when he sat down across from me one afternoon, there was a weight to his posture I could not ignore. He leaned in, lowered his voice, and said something that broke my heart. "I don't feel like a man anymore." What Howard was expressing wasn't just about intimacy. It was about something far deeper, the erosion of self-worth, the fading of identity, the hollowing out of a spirit that had once been bold and alive. And sadly, his experience is far more common than most people realize. Neglecting your intimate needs as you age does more than weaken your body. It attacks your very sense of who you are. Sexual confidence is not about performance. It is about the inner belief that you are still vital, still capable of giving and receiving affection, still deserving of connection and pleasure. When that belief withers, it infects every area of your life. It becomes harder to speak up, harder to engage with others, harder to take pride in your body, your voice, your very existence. When older adults stop engaging in any form of intimate self-care, whether through fear, shame, or misinformation, they unconsciously send a dangerous message to themselves, that they are no longer worthy of pleasure, of touch, of being seen as fully human. Over time, that message sinks in, reshaping the way they walk, the way they speak, the way they look at the world. They begin to shrink from life itself. Howard told me that he stopped looking in the mirror. He stopped dressing up for dinners with friends. He withdrew from old hobbies he once loved, not because he was physically unable to participate, but because he no longer believed he belonged in spaces filled with laughter, connection, and life. He became a ghost of himself, living but not truly alive. The tragic reality is that once sexual confidence is lost, it is incredibly hard to rebuild. It's not simply about reviving desire. It's about reconstructing a sense of self that feels shattered. It requires courage, patience, and an understanding that your worth has never been tied to your age or your physical ability. It has always been tied to your willingness to embrace life fully, including the most intimate, private parts of yourself. Sexual identity is not erased by wrinkles or gray hair. It is kept alive through acknowledgement, acceptance, and care. When you allow yourself the dignity of pleasure, of connection, even in private ways, you reinforce the truth that you are still here, still deserving, still vibrantly alive. Ignoring that need doesn't make it disappear. It buries it, along with the parts of your spirit that make life worth living. Howard eventually found his way back, slowly. Through small steps, through reclaiming moments of self-respect and joy, he rebuilt his sense of identity. But he often said he wished he had never let it slip so far, never allowed the silence to creep so deep into his heart. Losing your sexual confidence is not just about giving up one part of life. It is about surrendering your connection to vitality, to hope, to yourself. And the longer you wait, the harder the climb back becomes. Because if you think losing your sense of identity is heartbreaking, Wait until you realize how failing to act today could cost you not just your strength, your heart, or your mind, but your very ability to live independently and freely in the years ahead. Conclusion: the choice is still yours. By now, you have seen the hidden dangers laid bare. The slow, silent ways your body and spirit can begin to unravel if you ignore one of the most natural and essential parts of being human. Accelerated muscle loss, dangerous falls, fading memory, sleepless nights, crushing loneliness, a failing heart, a vanishing sense of self. These are not distant threats for someone else to worry about. They are real, immediate risks that could be quietly taking root inside you right now, without you even realizing it. Too many seniors believe that intimacy, touch, and self-care belong to the young, that these needs are supposed to wither with age. But the truth could not be more different. Your body still longs for connection. Your mind still needs stimulation. Your spirit still craves the affirmation that you are here, you are alive, you are still vital. Neglecting your intimate needs is not just an emotional loss. It is a physical, cognitive, and even existential risk that can erode the very foundation of your health and happiness. It is the difference between standing strong through the years or slowly collapsing into frailty and despair. The good news is you still have a choice. A simple, private choice. You can honor your body's needs, no matter your age. You can reclaim your strength, your heart health, your mind's clarity, your emotional resilience, and your sense of self by refusing to let shame or fear strip away what makes you fully alive. It does not take heroic effort. It does not require anyone else's permission. It only takes a decision to care for yourself completely, to nourish every part of you, including the parts society so often urges you to forget. You are not a relic. You are not invisible. You are a living, breathing, powerful soul with a body that still deserves attention, affection, and care. The clock is ticking, but it is not too late. You can still protect your muscles. You can still sharpen your mind. You can still safeguard your heart. You can still sleep deeply, laugh freely, and love your life again, starting with the simple act of reconnecting to your most natural instincts. Your future does not have to be a story of decline. It can be a story of resilience, of dignity, of joy. The choice is yours. And today is the perfect day to begin. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.